morning and welcome to Asaka Online. My name is Zenzel Ndere. Today we'll be talking to the Chief Executive Officer of the United Refineries. He is also the Chairperson of the Oil Expressors Association of Zimbabwe and the past President of CZK. Mr. Moyo, welcome.
Thank you, Zenzel.
Yes, I mean, there are so many things that we have talked about, but one of the things that really got us interested was what you've been tweeting about the future of Bulawayo's economy.
The concept is to reach out to colleagues in the business community to say that instead of thinking of our own businesses, let's think of the wider economy of Bulawayo and its contribution to the country. I think where we are headed to, we need to reinvent ourselves as Bulawayo economically. We need new ideas. We need to accept certain realities. Not all the factories that were there in the 90s can be revived. So we need to think futuristically. Things that are relevant, things that are market relevant, that are needed by somebody, because that's where the opportunities will really come from. So it's to really to look and take an inventory to say, in this current period that we have, what are some of the business ideas that we can begin to fertilize, explore, connect, and make sure that we grow those ideas and make them into a reality.
As a people, are we really ready to move forward and accept that some of our industries are no longer relevant in this environment?
I think we have to, and it's not new. Industries all over the world. You go to Italy, we went on a CZI mission to Italy. There are old factories there that were very vibrant in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, that have closed. So deindustrialization is a phenomenon that is not peculiar to Bulawayo. But the important thing is to find new industries that are viable, that are sustainable. And those are the conversations that we're having online on my Twitter handle, Busisa74, to basically discuss these issues, bring them to the fore, and start making representations. Because I think we owe it to ourselves to do it, at least to create a platform for those who are in the diaspora as well, to see that in country, these conversations are starting to take place. I've received lots of emails since the new dispensation of friends that want to come back that ask me, what business can I come and do back home? So I thought it would be worthwhile to start having a public conversation about what industries, what opportunities are there, what is Bulawayo really, what are some of its unique advantages that we can take advantage of and begin to build on.
Yeah, sometimes people might argue that it's not that people don't have money. Sometimes it's lack of ideas and maybe leaders who can take forward. If you look at the pyramid schemes, people invested over 6 million in a pyramid scheme, which is money that could have been put in industry. So using the idea that is actually noble, how do people then take it up?
Well, fortunately for us, we have now new concepts like crowdfunding. We have angel investing. Besides the more conventional ways of investing, you investing in your own business. So things like crowdfunding present opportunities that people can participate. I think the issue in the past has been structure, integrity, the integrity of the promoter. Those are issues that are there. They happen not just here. There are people in the US who are angel investors who are losing money. So it's not peculiar to us, and we don't need to be fatigued and say, investing in business doesn't work. I think it's just to find out the credible ideas, and that's what in this platform over the next few days, maybe up to Thursday evening, is to start to have this conversation where people can look. It's a free conversation, but it's there to fertilize ideas, and then not only that, we are doing it. We're taking a step further to actually make presentation to the Minister of State, make presentation to the City Fathers, make presentation even to His Excellency, the President Mnangagwa, and say, as Bulawayo, this is the thinking that we have about our future economy, and we would like policies that support these ideas, because that's also been a problem. It needs to be admitted that some of the policies have been sort of self-defeating or counterintuitive to good ideas. And these are the challenges that we need to work through. But I think we need to believe in ourselves. We need to have self-determination, self-confidence. I'm speaking to you inside a business that is in Bulawayo that had shut down. This is one of the few maybe businesses that we we've been able to revive and get back. There may be one or two others, a handful. So it's not just the revival of old industries, it's also looking at future industries. For example, Bulawayo is a host to huge educational institutions. The School of Mines is here. The School of Hospitality is here. The National University of Science and Technology is here. Lupane State University is here. There's Bulawayo Polytechnic, very technical, one of the strongest technicons in the country that's produced artisans for the southern region. Why don't we be deliberate and start to upscale the level at which we are doing this, and we start to market ourselves as an education hub for COMESA, not just looking at Bulawayo only, not just looking at Zimbabwe, but COMESA, because we are doing it, but it's unintentional, it's accidental. But you go to Solusi, which is also very close to here, you will see buses at the beginning of each semester coming from Swaziland, different places. These are accidental things which we are saying, what if Bulawayo started to think of itself as an education center for East and Southern Africa, like Makerere in Uganda used to be in the old days, but it's a university city, it's an education city that's educating the whole subcontinent. These are some of the ideas that we want to start, say, talking to government, talking to promoters of businesses to say, what does it take? And like you said, probably you'll find we have the money to do at least half of these things. The foreign investor will only come with a portion of what we are already doing. It will be a case of, they say that when an economy changes, it's when the people inside the economy themselves, their mindset. This is Greg Mills, and Why States Recover, that's his book. He says, when the people inside that economy change their thinking and want to engage in entrepreneurial activity, that's when even the foreign investor has confidence to come in, because these are people on the move. They've got ideas, they want to do things. And this is as sort of the younger generation, this is the conversations that we want to start drumming support, building excitement around entrepreneurship, even introducing some business schools to Bulawayo. We trust that out of this conversation that we'll have over the next few days, these are some of the things. I've just touched on one. We have about 9 arms. If you go to that Twitter handle, we have 9 arms, 9 areas, starting from infrastructure, going through to agriculture, looking at ICT, looking at education hub, which I've touched on, looking at industry, and things like that.
Do people or industries in Bulawayo take ZITF seriously, so that it just doesn't become a 4-day event? Because during trade fair, you have all these people are coming here, but after that they're gone and we are left again without anything. How do you make sure that the impact that happens at trade fair lasts the whole year?
Well, I think fortunately the new chairman of the ZITF, Ruth Nube, is a very vibrant, dynamic lady, and the general manager, Nomatimba Ndogo, very dynamic ladies. We've started to have these conversations, and they have started, fortunately, to say this is an international exhibition center. Besides having Scholastica, Minentra, what else can we do around ZITF? It's an anchor, what we call, that falls under a special category that I've called in that Twitter handle, anchor projects. In there I have ZITF, I have CSC, I have NRZ, I have the Nchabezi pipeline, and the glass block dam pipeline. So these are anchor, these are big, high impact projects that affect a lot of other things. They touch on a lot of downstream, upstream industry. So the ZITF, I think that the big thing is to refresh the product. The product is tired. It needs a refresher. We need to bring in a big investor and turn that into an exhibition center of global standards. Then we start attracting big shows. People look at what you're investing in. Bokim here in Francistown, they did a small investment, but they're starting to attract a lot of people around that investment area. So we need to refresh the ZITF and Zimbabwe International Exhibition Center, ZIEC, to a world-class exhibition center, high-tech, that can host a technology conference, an Africa technology conference, that can host a fashion show, global fashion show, African fashion, things like that. So we need to think in other terms, think outside the box, think scale. But I think it all begins with us refreshing the product, rethinking. You need a 5-star hotel there in the trade fair, things like that. You need maybe even a shopping mall inside the trade fair so you can't join it. There's this concept that they call a precinct. You have a hotel, we already have a golf course attached to it. So we just need to remodel that whole trade fair area into an asset of the future. And these are some of the conversations that we want to fertilize and people to start saying, what about this? And I've been very intrigued to see already some of the diasporans who are out there and are working inside international exhibition centers. They start to throw in their ideas and say, hey, but you can do this and you can do that. And those are the ideas now to then have people step out of those Twitter handles and start to put their hands to their plow, start to invest in projects, start to consult in projects, but we start to see a Bulawayo economy that is on the move.
What are some of the policies that you think will promote such kind of ideas and innovations to make sure that we actually get to action?
Well, there's a big one. The big one that we've been thinking about with a few colleagues. The Minister of State has a think tank in Bulawayo, as you know. And some of these ideas are coming from colleagues within that think tank. And we are starting to ask ourselves, what about the South African model that says different cities are the capitals for certain things? In South Africa, the administrative capital is Pretoria, the commercial capital is Johannesburg, the legislative capital, where Parliament is Cape Town, the judicial capital is Bloemfontein. What about having Bulawayo as a judicial capital? Instead of going to Mount Hampton, what about having Bulawayo, Parliament sit in Bulawayo? What is the impact of that on the economy of Bulawayo? These are some of the policies that we need to maybe look at probing and proposing, because these are proposals, these are ideas. We're at that idea stage, but we believe out of some of these ideas, instead of chasing something that's difficult and complicated like devolution, I think commercially, as a businessman, it will be more advantageous to have Bulawayo being not just the industrial capital, but the judicial capital of the country. And then it means that parliamentarians from all over come and assemble whenever Parliament, if you have Parliament, for example, Parliament will come to Bulawayo. It's a choice between judicial or legislative capital of the country. These are some of the policy shifts, but there are other simpler things like having full government offices that can issue permits. Ministry of Industry, fortunately, has already started doing this. You can apply for a license right here in the office. It doesn't have to go to Harare. These are some of the big shifts that we need to be thinking about in Bulawayo. A bank headquartered in Bulawayo. To spur this development, all these ideas we're talking about, they need financing. And we can't be having a proposal that will go to Harare. It will slow us down. There's nothing wrong. It's not that people in Harare are bad people. It's just they are inundated with development in other areas. We need a bank that is headquartered here. It's a private, one would say, well, Moyo, you can just set up a bank as a private entrepreneur. But if government policy is incentivizing, just like we saw NASA setting up a women's bank, we saw NASA setting up NPS, we can have a southern sort of bank headquartered in Bulawayo, focusing on some of the development issues in these cities. Because most banks, because of the cost of having a fully fledged outfit in the south of the country, they've tended just to have satellite offices, people that don't really understand what is going on. You want a bank CEO who will drive and know where United Refineries is, and drive to CSC every day and see where it is, and really be immersed in the. So these are some of the policy changes that we start to say we will be calling on. I'm just giving you, skimming right off the top, some of the policies that we'd like to see, and we are now starting to put pressure and saying this new dispensation, it must deliver something for Bulawayo. This new dispensation must deliver a different Bulawayo. Otherwise, we are just talking, and yet really we're in need. We need to create jobs for our young people. We need to create a future for our children. As I said in the Twitter handle, we need to create a city that our children won't want to live.
One of the issues that the industry has always talked about is the cost of labor. That Zimbabwe cost of labor is very high. I mean, how do we rationalize that?
So there's a very interesting concept there, in that you remember there was a time if you left Bulawayo and went to Harare, you got a raise. They raised your salary. We made a mistake as people from Bulawayo. We thought that abantu basikhandela phansi, basikholisa imali ephansi sibancane. No, it was actually an economic philosophy. The economic philosophy is as follows. If you are a manufacturing city, you need to have low wages. So we need to revert back to that environment where you have very low wages, and as we go, we can raise our wage. As people are absorbed into employment, naturally, people will start to pay more for labor. But it will be out of competitiveness after having restarted industry. And these are some of the issues that we need to start talking to the city fathers and saying, look, let's agree that to be an industrial city, we need a lower wage. I see a town in Venezuela last week just issued its own currency. We can also say we want our own minimum wage here in Bulawayo, so that our people are engaged in employment. What will that do? It will attract factories here, assembly industries, the kind of things that we're talking about there, what we call regional value chains. People bring in car components, assemble the cars here, sell them to DRC, sell them to Zambia, Botswana, and so on. You attract companies to do that through a low wage, a low minimum wage. You start there. We do have an issue with the cost of living. When you are balancing wages, you need to balance with the cost of living as well. But look, 90% of our young people are not working. So what do we mean when we say we need a minimum living wage? How are they living now on $0? Here we are saying let's introduce $100 as a minimum. That person now has $100 a month that they didn't have. They will buy more cooking oil, they will buy more products, they will consume more, because now they've got more than they had. Some of them are still living with their families and so on, living with friends. So we need to encourage this conversation as Bulawayo, as an industrial city, and as a city that wants to kickstart its economy, create employment for its people. The current labor laws, the current labor policies are for people that are inside employment. They protect people who are employed, but they exclude and keep people who are not employed out of employment. It's not a good policy. So we need to relook at this very quickly, because now that indigenization has opened up, guess what subject number 2 is? Where can I produce cheapest? That's the next conversation. And if people are not coming, it won't because of indigenization. It's gone now. It's been watered down. It doesn't apply to most sectors. So what's the next thing that they will be using as a criteria? Cost. What is the cost of producing in Bulawayo? And we don't have a market. Our markets are very far away. So we need to have an advantage. And the advantage, I think, lies in our labor costing and in our labor valuation. That's where we are going to start. So you are bringing a very important question, and we need to start raising it with the city fathers. We need to agree as Bulawayo, first of all. You see, the problem, Zenzele, is that we haven't agreed as Bulawayo about what we want. And we want to start conversations that get the majority of us to agree. And once we agree, we will really create a new economy.
As we draw to the close, we have these small industries, maybe small like arts, like young guys into technology and all these kind of things. How can well-established companies, maybe support these small industries that are coming back, that are futuristic, to produce apps, to export talent and all those kind of things?
I think the big answer there is in angel investing and crowdfunding. We need to surround these people with creative types with funding. It's the same with our arts. We've got a vibrant arts culture segment that needs to be structured commercially, so that it actually creates income and becomes a powerhouse Zim dancehall is mainly coming out of Harare. We've seen that, and there's a lot of funding that's going around that. But we have a different genre that we follow. No, and I'm not talking about the cut and paste from Durban and from, that has its own place. But we need our own genre of music, that a fusion that comes from Bulawayo and is marketed and pitched there. We have a lot of dance ensembles. We have Iasa, and so on and so on. So we need to start to structure these and put funding and start to get involved as corporates and start to support each other and create an ecosystem that supports the arts, supports our products. It's an exchange that we need so that we start to build up. But I think the big issue there, the ideas are there, the talent is there, the content is there. You are from the industry, you will know this. It's simply an issue of funding. If we create structures for funding, create integrity to the receivers of funding, so that we create viable business that lasts 100 years. If we do that, I believe we'll start to see the ICT sector, the services, the arts, the tourism, all those will start to go in the right direction, which is upwards.
We've seen a lot of young people leaving Zimbabwe to South Africa, mainly, and Botswana. Do you think these young people are ready to come back and develop Bulawayo, Zimbabwe?
Well, I really think that people always go where the action is at, especially young people. Where there's economic action, where there's a future. I have a young daughter who is starting to think at that level, approaching O levels. She's starting to think about what her options are. I think that if we have an environment that has enough options and she can achieve her dreams without having to go far away, she would much rather do it here. It's cheaper. She has a social safety net. It's more secure. Out there, our children, especially the girl children, they're exposed, they're vulnerable. They'd much rather be here doing great things. And in this world where we are interconnected, we now have optic fiber, high speed internet speeds, and so on and so on. I think that if we create, you and I, if we create enough energy in our city, as the media, as business people, we start to create this energy and people can see, they will jump in to participate. Everyone wants to make a contribution, and that contribution is even more important if it's your city, Lapo Vela Kona. Who wouldn't want to contribute to Bulawayo and make a fortune at the same time? There's very few people who would turn away that opportunity. It's very compelling, and in the words of the Godfather, it's an offer no one can refuse.
Thank you very much for your enlightening discussion, and we hope that a lot of people are going to take this conversation online. And once again, what's your Twitter handle for those who would like to contribute?
Well, our Twitter handle is Busisa 74. Busisa 74.